Before you start running a business, the scariest word to me was failure. I really didn't want to fail, and I thought failure was seen as something really negative. But in fact, since starting my business, I've seen that failure is actually the way to grow. Everyone talks about how they have multiple failures. Today I thought I would open up and share my failures with you. I've made countless errors, mistakes since I started my business, and I won't have time to go through all of them, however big or small they may be. But I thought if I open up about a couple of my failures, someone may listen to this and not make the same mistake that I have. When I started my business, I started it on a whim. I had no plan whatsoever, and I think that was my first mistake. I really do believe that you should have a plan before you start a business. Whether that just be a small business plan with startup costs, understanding your client avatar, understanding your marketing strategy, having a pricing plan, all those things are so crucial. On the other hand, I do believe that you can plan too much, and so it's really important to have a plan set out. Bev Flanagan does her 90-day plan, which I think is brilliant, but you have to make a plan that works for you. Once you have your initial plan, then it's really important to start, because starting is always the hardest thing. And then it's really important to adjust your plan moving forward. So if you make 30, 60 or 90-day plans, it's really important to revisit them just before the time's up and plan for the next 30, 60 or 90 days. Another failure I had early on with content creation is the fact that I started ego posting. Ego posting is when you post about yourself. So for example, day in the life. And I had probably had about 100 followers who didn't really give a shit about who I was, and so that content did not do well whatsoever. It wasn't until I started speaking to my clients' pain points and answering questions that my content started to do well. So I would say to anyone looking to grow on social media, always add value. People are there on social media to be educated or entertained. They're not there to see what you eat in a day, unless obviously you're a fitness influencer. Another failure I made was definitely saying yes to everything, and too much as well. So when I started my business, I said yes to everything. I thought that everything would bring me value. So I said yes to meetings with people that didn't add value to myself or to my business. And that drained me. You should have seen my calendar. It was unhinged with all these meetings that weren't giving value to anyone. Also saying yes to networking events with people that weren't my ideal client or again couldn't help me in my business were actually just a massive waste of time. But I said yes because I thought in the future that something magical would happen because I'd been to that event. But realistically, it wasn't helping anyone. Another big failure I had early on was trying to be someone I'm not, and people could see straight through that. When I came into the industry, it obviously was very male dominated and still is, and it's very prim and proper. And so I thought I had to be prim and proper. So some of my first reels on Instagram, I was wearing a suit and I was talking about accounting because I thought the only way I'd be taken seriously as a young female in finance is if I dressed up to look the part. Those reels obviously didn't do great, and I wasn't creating a clear identity for myself. I wasn't standing out. I was being like every other accountant. And to be able to grow a personal brand, you have to have a USP. But I was so scared that people wouldn't take me seriously, so I put that off for the longest time. And when I realised that my USP in fact was being a young female in finance, I really honed in on it, and that's when my personal brand and my content definitely started to take off. I'm now unapologetically myself, as you can see with Phil, my jelly cat that I'm sitting here with, in my baggy jumper that I adore being in. I go to awards evenings in Uggs because I cannot walk in heels to save my life. I look like Bambi on ice. I go to filming days in my cargo trousers and my baggy jumper because that's what I would wear every single day. I film content in my baggy clothes because that's what I feel comfortable in. I go to awards evenings and talks in my H&M kids boots because that's what I feel comfortable wearing. And so to any business owner that thinks they need to do something to fit in, you don't. You just need to be able to create your own path and be uniquely yourself, because that's what everyone loves about you, and that is how you create such a strong brand. Another failure I had in my business was definitely pricing. I know accountants and bookkeepers talk about this all the time, but it is so true. I had no idea where to start with pricing. I priced wrong from the outset, and it's taken me a long time, which I'm still doing, to get back on the right path for pricing. Advice I would give to someone that's trying to start their price list is honestly just stalk other accountants. A lot of accountants will have their prices on their website, so take those and adjust for where you're at. but it's so important not to undervalue yourself, which I definitely did at the beginning. Another failure is that I am terrible at putting too many things on my plate. When I get bored, I love starting new projects. Another failure I had whilst running my business is not taking enough time for myself and not spending enough time with friends, family, partners, etc. When I started my business, I was so engulfed and engrossed in all the work that I had to do. It felt so overwhelming. And so I'd literally work myself to the bone. I'd put in crazy hours because I thought it was ride and die and that I needed to create a really solid foundation, which I absolutely did, but it cost the price of me looking after myself and spending time with those around me. Especially when it came to my family and friends. I know that there have been times where I've definitely made mistakes and I've picked work over spending time with them, which is not the right thing to do, but at the time I was so stressed, or I had an event that I thought would get me more clients, or I'd be connected to the right people to be able to improve my career. And making those decisions is never easy. And they are selfish decisions, but sometimes in business you do have to be selfish, but it's a very fine line. But leading on from not taking enough time for myself, I think also I was trying to fit into a routine early in my business that was not meant for me. There's so many people that post things online about how you need to wake up at the crack of dawn to be a successful business owner and work late till night to get everything done. And I was trying to do that so hard, but it wasn't working for me. I was exhausted all of the time. For me, I'm in my 20s. If you know me, you know that I need a lot of sleep to be able to function as a human being. So once I took myself out of putting that much pressure on myself to work those crazy hours, the routine fit me better. I got more done, I was more productive, I was also just a nicer person in general because I was taking care of myself. So for me, I wake up at 9, maybe 10 every single day, and I have a slow morning. I make my breakfast, I get hydrated, I try and go to the gym, and then I sit down for my day. And then I'll happily work later into the evening because that's what suits me. You can't put pressure on yourself to find a routine that works for someone else. You have to find a routine that works for you. I hope if you're a new business owner, you can take something away from those failures and not make the same mistakes as I did.